Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Jana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Nittai Gauranga Jayo Nittai Gauranga Nittai Gauranga Jayo Nittai Gauranga Jayo Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jayo Jaya Prabhupada Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 4, Text number 63. Please repeat after me. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aham Bhakta Paradhino Aham Bhakta Paradhino Hi Ashvatantra Iva Dvija Hi Ashvatantra Iva Dvija Sadhubhir Grasta Hrudayo Sadhubhir Grasta Hrudayo Bhaktair Bhakta Janapriyaha Bhaktair Bhakta Janapriyaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aham Bhakta Paradino Ashvatantra Nivadvaja Nadbir Tardayo Nair Bhakta Janapriyaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aham Bhakta Paradino Yashvatantra Iva Dvija Vasta Hudayo Bhaktir Bhakta Janapriyaha Matajis Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aham bhakta paradhino hi ashvatantra iva dvija sadhupir grasta hridayo bhakter bhakta janapriyaha. Anybody else? One more, Mataji. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aham Bhakta Paradhino Hi Asvatantra Iva Dvija Sadhubir Grasta Hridayo Bhaktair Bhakta Janapriyaha. Word to word translation. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Aham, I, Bhakta Paradinaha, am dependent on the will of my devotees. He, indeed, Ashvatantraha, I am not independent. Iva, exactly like that. Dvija, O Brahmana, Sadhubihi, by pure devotees, completely free from all material desires. Grasta Hridayaha, my heart is controlled. Bhaktaihi, because they are devotees. Bhakta Jana Priyaham, I am dependent not only on my devotee, but also on my devotee's devotee. The devotee's devotee is extremely dear to me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the core of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. Purport. All the great stalwart personalities in the universe, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are fully under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully under the control of His devotee. Why is this? Because the devotee is Anya Bilashita Shunya. In other words, he has no material desires in his heart. His only desire is to think always of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to serve Him best. Because of this transcendental qualification, the Supreme Lord is extremely favorable to the devotees. Indeed, not only the devotees, but also the devotees of the devotees. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura says, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nisthara Payeche Keba. Without being a devotee of a devotee, one cannot be released from material entanglement. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identified himself as Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. Thus he instructed us to become not directly servants of Krishna, but servants of the servants of Krishna. Devotees like Brahma, Narada, Vyasadeva, and Shukadeva Goswami are directly servants of Krishna, and one who becomes a servant of Narada, Vyasadeva, and Shukadeva, like the 6 Goswamis, is still more devoted. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura therefore says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. If one very sincerely serves the spiritual master, Krishna certainly becomes favorable to such a devotee. Following the instructions of a devotee is more valuable than following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktaranda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the course of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. So we see here in this ninth canto, this continuation of the story here. So who is saying this to whom? Narayana to Durvasa Muni. So, if you remember last, when we were discussing, we were talking about Maharaj Ambarisha's very wonderful position, how he was ruling like a Rajarshi. Right? Then there was this incident. Once Durvasa Muni was visiting Maharaj Ambarisha. And it so happened that day morning it was Dwadashi. And Ambarish Maharaj had fasted and he was supposed to break fast on that day. So Durvasa Muni came and he said, with all his, usually he travels with thousands of his disciples, whole entourage. So he came and he said, I'm going to go to the river, I'll take bath and I'll come back. And then he went and I guess logistical problems maybe. Thousands of people go one time to river. Some delays happened. And he was not back yet and the time for breaking fast was expiring. So at that time, Ambarish Maharaj was a little perplexed what to do. So he consulted senior Brahmanas and asked them, what should I do? And they instructed him, you see, you break your fast with water. If you break fast with water, it is like breaking fast and not like breaking fast either, because you're not eating grains. Right? It is do that much and then you serve Durvasa Muni, then you can have prasad. So following their instructions, Ambarish Maharaj broke fast with water. Durvasa Muni came back and he was such a powerful sage that he is able to understand what has happened. There's a word we use, Trikalagni, we say, right? Past, present and future, Trikalagni. So how are they Trikalagni? See, everybody knows the present. Right? You are sitting here, you know the present, what is around you. All of us know that. But a Trikalagni can know the past of not just himself, but the past of others as well. So we all know our past, right? Hopefully. Except when people are drunk, they can't even remember what happened the previous day. Huh? This lifetime past, yes. That's a good point. You don't even know what happened in the previous lifetime. Purposefully, the Lord, matta smritir gnanam apohanam cha. from the Lord comes Mattaha Smritir, means remembrance, Gnanam, knowledge, and Apohanam, forgetfulness. Can you imagine if you knew what your last life was? We'll all go mad. Right? It's so confusing. What life? What is this? What is? Who am I? What am I? Right? Yeah, I guess imagine how confusing it must be. And in most cases, the Shastras say that if one is too attached to the opposite sex, this time if you're a woman, last time you would have been a man. And so that's even more. Can you imagine how confusing that should be to a living entity? So, Trikala knows the past of everybody because he knows the past and he knows the present and he knows the laws of karma. That's how he knows the future. Not that he knows everything that you're going to do. That's why free will is there. But the moment you do something, he will know. That's how the Supreme Lord also says Trikala. So Durvasa Muni had these powers, and unfortunately he doesn't have is known for his anger. So he got very upset that this impudent Ambarish Maharaj, without waiting for me, he broke his fast. And there are several ways of dealing with this. But in his case, in this situation, he was very upset. He said, to transgress the laws of respectful behavior towards the Brahmanas is certainly a great offense. On the other hand, this is the discussion of before the breaking. See, okay. Still hungry, Durvasa Muni's body was trembling. Alas, just see the behavior of this cruel man. He is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Being proud of his material opulence and his position, he considers himself God. Just see how he has transgressed the laws of religion. Maharaj Ambarisha, you have invited me to eat as a guest, but instead of feeding me, you yourself have eaten first. Because of your misbehavior, I shall show you something to punish you. And his face became red. He uprooted a bunch of hair from his head and created a big demon. This big demon was so big and so powerful, the whole earth was shaking. And he was menacingly coming towards Ambarish Maharaj to finish him off. But Ambarish Maharaj, being a devotee of the Lord, understanding that everything is the will of the Lord, he just silently stood with folded hands, without protesting, without saying a word, even though he could have said, "Sir, excuse me, sir. I just followed this Brahmana's instructions. They are responsible to catch them." Right? Always we try to give an excuse, right? As soon as somebody says something. No, I didn't do this. This was actually what happened. And he did this. He said that. No. Usually, we say, don't be defensive. Right? In the very standard thing, we say, if somebody gives you some feedback, don't be defensive. Because that's our nature. To say, no, I actually didn't do it. See, in the case of Ambarish Maharaj, he actually didn't do anything wrong. Right? He could have at least given an explanation. Oh, I'm so sorry, you're angry. But, this is actually what happened. Because Durvasa Muni actually didn't give him a chance also. Immediately he said, he pronounced his mistake, and then he said, I'm going to punish you, and immediately created the demon. There's no chance to as a most powerful emperor, he could have easily killed the demon. It was very easy for him, as such a powerful person. But he didn't. He said, this is the will of providence. What can I do? Let me just accept the Lord's will. And he just kept silent. Because he didn't defend himself. Now who came to defend him? What? the Lord sent Sudarshan Chakra. The Lord Sudarshan Chakra, his own personal weapon, appeared on the scene immediately and destroyed the demon. And it didn't stop there. Okay, one job done, now it started going after Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was shocked. What is this? This small king, is able to invoke Sudarshan Chakra. And then when the Sudarshan Chakra was coming at him, he didn't say, this is the providence of God, let me just accept it. He could have done that actually. Maybe if he had done that, maybe he would have been saved. He was like, let me escape from here. Because he is able to move from one planetary system to another planetary system. He can move wherever he wants, he can go whatever. So if he was disappearing here and going to different planetary system. And he didn't even have to turn back. He could feel the heat of Sudarshana right behind him. So he knew that he's still behind me, and he kept going. And then said, he went all over the universe. The problem didn't get solved. So he said, I need to go to Brahmaji. So he goes to Lord Brahma. And Brahma says, hey, what is this? You're coming to me. So first he goes to Brahma said, when the pastimes of the Lord come to the end, Lord Vishnu, by the flick of his eyebrows, vanquishes the entire universe, including our place of residence. Such personalities as me and Lord Shiva, as well as Daksha, Bhrigu, and similar great saints, of which they are the head, and also the rulers of the living entities, the rulers of human society, and the rulers of the demigods, all of us surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, bowing our hands to carry out his orders for the benefit of all living entities. So he said, this is beyond my pay grade. And you are dealing with my boss. You have to go to my boss. Then he didn't stop there. He went to Lord Shiva also. Lord Shiva, he said, my dear son, I, Lord Brahma and other demigods who rotate within this universe under the misconception of our greatness cannot exhibit any power to compete with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For innumerable universes and their inhabitants come into existence and are annihilated by the simple direction of the Lord. At this point, he said, I need to go to Lord Vishnu. And then he goes and surrenders unto Lord Vishnu and begs his forgiveness. He says, I am a great offender. I offended your great devotee, and you have sent this Sudarshana Chakra. Please help me. Can you imagine here the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself? He is saying, Oh Durvasa Muni, I cannot do anything. I am sold. I am under the control of my devotees. They are the ones who control me. Supreme Personality of Godhead. You could have said, actually it is his own chakra. But he is trying to make a point here. He is trying to make a point that the devotees of the Lord are more pleasing to him than the Lord himself. And the Lord willfully, the devotees first of all willingly give up their individual desire, anya abhilashita shunyam, give up all desires and serve the Supreme Lord. Very similarly, the Supreme Lord gives up his desires and says, I am going to surrender to my devotees. There is a very similar incident in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We recently all celebrated Panihati festival. Right? In whose remembrance do we celebrate Panihati festival? Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. Right? He was the son of a very wealthy merchant. He was only heir to both his son and his uncle. And they were so extremely rich, so extremely rich. There's a, there's a big description of the opulence. And we all know how he was completely disinterested with his material opulence and wanted to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after he finally gets a chance to escape and then goes to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where does he go? Where does he go? Jagannatha Puri. Right? He goes to Puri to take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So very interestingly here, imagine Raghunatha Dasa Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis that Shad Goswami we say, right? The highest people. But when he came to surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't say, "Oh, wonderful, you have come now," because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only told him, "One day will come when you will get freedom and you can come to me." And he has come to surrender to him. But he gives him a different instruction. Anybody knows what he says? Huh? Don't eat too luxuriously. Yeah, that's there, but he gives him an instruction to serve somebody else actually. Parents. Whom does he ask him to serve? Swarupa Damodara Goswami. Swarup Damodar. So Swarup Damodar was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's secretary, personal secretary. So he's saying, instead of, you could have said, "Okay, you become my disciple." And he says, no. You please serve Swarup Damodar and you train under him. And he asks him to work, to serve him. And it is said that Raghunatha Dasa Goswami did very menial service to Swarup Damodara and took instructions under him. He was there almost for 16 years. This 16 years he was there in Puri serving Swarup Damodar. And so, it's only when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world that he went to Vrindavan. So we see here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also setting an example. Somebody as big as Raghunatha Dasa Goswami is asking him, "Go serve under this person." So we see here, a very important aspect of how to develop devotional service, how to develop devotion and purify ourselves is given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Says Prabhupada is telling, therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identified himself as Gopi Bhartuhu Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. Thus he instructed us not to become not directly servants of Krishna, but servants of the servants of Krishna. Devotees like Brahma, Narada, Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami are directly servants of Krishna. And one who becomes a servant of Narada, Vyasadeva and Shukadeva, like the 6 Goswamis, is still more devoted. So in our parampara, we are taught how to become Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. So one should develop these very fine aspects. See, these things are, very subtle things. If you don't understand this mood, if you don't imbibe this in our lives, like how to become servant of somebody, then we will miss the opportunity to really advance in spiritual life. The reality is that all of us in the material world, we have come here because we want to become the master ourselves. We were envious of Krishna himself. Oh, how can Krishna be the master? Why is everybody serving him? I want to a place to go where everybody can serve me. and we come over here and try to build our own kingdoms. Right? For most people, the small kingdom that they try to build, like, okay, I am the head of the family. Everybody should serve me. My wife should serve me. My children should serve me. Everybody should serve me. They should obey me. They should listen to me. And nowadays, in Kali Yuga, it's like the wife wants to also be similar situation. Actually, in all yugas, all living entities, they want to be the center of this. Right? And we all try that. This whole, not just human beings, all living entities in this world try that. But does it succeed? Right? You can see this in the animal kingdom. In the animal kingdom, it's a male-dominated society, right? Very clearly you can see. In the animal world, it's a totally male-dominated society, because always the males are significantly bigger, significantly stronger, and and that's how it works. And so the living entities try with always there is fight. There's always tension. All this going on. For a very short time, they're able to do that. And then one day, one more strong male will come and take over, and this male becomes is banished. Right? So like this is what happens in the animal kingdom. In human kingdom also, in the human beings also, we try this. Very similar situation happens by the laws of nature. But we are told as devotees, forget all this becoming this thing. Become a servant of the servant of the servants. And that is why, in devotional life, one has to, as much as you advance in spiritual life, usually people are saying, when I initially begin, okay, I'm a servant of somebody, I have to work under somebody. But as years and years go by, along with our a number of years of devotional life, our pride also increases if you're not careful. And then what happens? Everybody should serve me. Everybody should listen to me. Why this person is not listening to me? This kind of attitude develops, and it destroys one's devotional creeper. Always one should be eager. How can I serve somebody? If anybody says, that's why, if anybody says that, if you should ask them, okay, who is your authority? If you ask somebody, Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Nitai Gaur. Krishna Balaram did a transformation. So, if one should learn how to serve under somebody. That is a very, very important aspect of devotional life, how to serve under somebody. If somebody says, who is your authority? If you say, no, Prabhupada is my authority. As soon as, one gets into the trap, oh no, Prabhupada is my authority, you're falling a victim to the reason why we are in this material world. Why are we in this material world? Because we wanted to become Krishna. Now, after becoming devotees, the next best thing is, Prabhupada can't directly come and tell me what to do, so Prabhupada is my authority. You say like that, and they can escape from listening to somebody. That is the tendency you will see of devotees also. Despite doing all this and this thing, they'll fall trapped to this Maya. That is why, at any point, if somebody says, who is your authority? You should be able to say, this is my authority. And that person, if he asks, who is your authority? That person should be able to say, this is my authority. There should be this thing. In fact, Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada set this up, even a GBC, if somebody says, who is your authority? They'll say, no, GBC body is my authority. That is how Prabhupada set it up. If we do not learn this, if we do not practice this on a continuous basis, how to serve under somebody. It is not that, always the people that we are working under, they're not exhibiting the highest qualities of spiritual this thing. It's not possible. We're all conditioned souls. We'll all exhibit some level of good behavior, some level of bad behavior. That's our nature, right? As long as we're in this material world, we will do that. But that doesn't mean, oh, this person has got this problem, that's why I won't listen to him. You won't check, okay, this person has this problem, but how many problems do you have? If you had less problems than this person, then Krishna and Kala would have arranged for you also to be, to be in a different position. It doesn't matter. This was exhibited by our wonderful acharyas. Who was the spiritual master of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Gaur Kishadas Babaji Maharaj. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such a erudite scholar. Like nobody could stand. It seems, it is said that, when Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur would go on the street, any Mayavadi sannyasis, are coming, they would just escape and go somewhere else. Because if he confronts them, he will blast them. And he's written the Surya Siddhanta, such a great treatise on this thing. In fact, if you go read, see, because we have it's translated into English, right? A lot of things. If you go read Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur English, you need a dictionary and you need both you need simultaneously to understand. It's such high level English, this thing. But his spiritual master was illiterate. He was not a literate person. And he was living in a public toilet to avoid everybody. But he surrendered to him. Question would be asked, okay, what will you learn from an illiterate? If you go ask a question, what answer will he give? Let's suppose Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a complicated philosophical doubt about some, this thing, that thing. Who will he ask? He should ask Gaur Kishadas Babaji Maharaj, who will convey that information in the way it should be conveyed. So like this in our parampara, we have wonderful examples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this. Our acharyas have shown this. Krishna himself is showing here in this example. He is saying, I cannot do anything. You please go to my devotee. And then Durvasa Muni understands his folly and comes and begs forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj. And Ambarish Maharaj is so humble. He says, oh Durvasa Muni, why are you doing this? You are such a great person. You are my senior. How are you? You're coming and asking my forgiveness. What is there for me to forgive? I didn't take any offense. And then immediately, Sudarshan Chakra disappears. Right? So a wonderful story which is illustrating a lot of things for us, a lot of interesting things for us to learn and practice in our lives. Today is also Bhaktivinoda Thakur's is it appearance day or disappearance day? Bhaktivinoda Thakur also was a very, very, very erudite scholar, right? He was he said he was the fourth most highest ranking Indian in the entire country at that time. And his Guru Maharaj, right, was also a very simple person. Right? Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. This is the way of our parampara. We'll remember this and pray to Srila Prabhupada to give us the intelligence to always remain Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. Okay, we'll stop here. Anybody's any quick questions or comments? Yeah. 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 What? How do we deal with it? Yeah, yeah. In fact, in Kali Yuga, things get even more complicated, right? Earlier, most conversations would be, okay, you would talk to somebody, or at most you would write a letter, you know. Yeah. But now, instant messaging. Hack, hack. Left and right answers are going back and forth, and so much other complications. Kali Yuga means it's the kalaha. Misconceptions happen, misunderstandings happen. So the proper way of dealing with this is that when something is pointed out, the first thing we should, we should see is that, let's say there is this thing. First thing we should understand is that the mood should be that when if it's when somebody in a senior position is bringing something up, one should first, just like Ambarish Maharaj said, I am sorry. I mean, in fact, even though he's not sorry, he's just saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I've offended you. If that first mood is there, what is wrong in telling sorry? What do you lose by? Tell me something. I am sorry, 3 words. Whether you are right or wrong, oh, I'm so sorry this happened. You say that, and actually, let us say you actually didn't do a mistake. Then the person who pointed it out will feel even more guilty. Hare Bapre, he didn't do anything and I did a mistake. And then they will explain, oh, sorry, I heard like this, I saw like this, my misunderstanding, this happened like this. That person will say. That is why when you are in a position of authority, first thing you should remember is you will make a mistake. If you think, I am so and so, I will never make a mistake, finished. The moment you think like that, you are gone. Your authorities will make mistakes. You should also know, they should also know. And if they don't know, it's a problem for them. They have to pay bigger this thing. Now, that is a proper way of an authority. If you point it out properly, if you say first sorry, then they'll feel even more guilty. And let us say you are not wrong, you are not right. They will explain, oh, this is what happened. Always remember, sometimes in this world, things are so complicated. You will do this, you will do something else will be going on. Let us say the authority says, no, your mistake only. Blast you even more. You don't have any humility. You are not even listening to me. One more blasting. At that point, you should say, it's Krishna's wish. It is Krishna's wish. Nobody is going to get anything that is not due to you. Either this person would have blasted, or if not that, somebody else would have blasted you. And it's good only, it's coming in the parampara. You should be happy and say, I'm done with my job. I tried also. Still, I'm saying, my karma, what to do? When you say that, because you're not defending yourself, if you're not this thing, who will come to save you now? Krishna himself will come to save you. That faith we should have. Ambarish Maharaj had that faith. That's why Sudarshan Chakra appeared. We don't have that faith, that's why Sudarshan Chakra does not appear. But if you have the faith, you should have the faith that this system works itself out. Nobody, in fact, we should understand something. They say, right, if a judge does a mistake, his punishment is even more. A common man does a mistake, little punishment. Same mistake a judge does, you are a judge. You should know the law. You should know how the law is applied. You should be even more careful in this thing. You do the mistake, even more punishment. In fact, that's why Prabhupada said, in many places he said this, very clearly said, you GBC, you make mistake, you will go to hell, Prabhupada said. It applies to everybody down the line also. So, one should be very careful. That's why, because you'll be in both situations, right? Always Somebody is below you, somebody is above you. There is nobody here you can say nobody is below me. Somebody is below you and somebody is above you all the time. When you are dealing with somebody below you, be very, 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 very careful, because the punishment is going to be severe for you if you do a mistake. And the best way for you to defend yourself from making mistakes is you go to your authority or you follow the system. Like sometimes something happens, a little complicated in the temple. He'll say, okay, let me get the opinion of the temple council. There are multiple people involved. Same thing with the GBC body. One GBC thinks, okay, I can't take the decision myself. They'll go to the GBC body. At that time, if the GBC body decides something, it's not your problem. Everybody equally gets now. At least at that point, your punishment is distributed. Right? This is the nature of this world. And we should understand why this is there. And we should develop that humility. Then you will see this can be Bhu Vaikunta. Even here, we can have Vaikunta. And if all of us, in our, this thing, in our immaturity, because we are not dealing with this and everything in a proper way, some punishments here and there will be there, some suffering, some this thing is there. That is why we are not living in Bhu Vaikunta. But our situation is 1,000 times better than what is happening outside. That we should understand. Okay? We'll stop here. We all have to go to the land. Jai Granthrath Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Bol Premanande.